You sent over these notes
Mm-hmm.
about mastering client interactions.
Yes.
And
It
it really struck me as like a master class
Yeah.
on nailing it, not just with clients,
Right.
but like with colleagues, even friends,
Yeah.
you know?
You know, it reminds me of something I read recently
Okay.
about how the best interactions are like a dance,
Interesting.
not a sales pitch.
Okay.
You know, there's this
Yeah.
natural give and take,
Yeah.
a sense of mutual understanding, and I feel like that's what this material is getting at.
Right. And it's not about manipulation or some kind of Jedi mind trick,
Right.
you know?
Exactly.
There's this intriguing idea that you sent over
Okay.
called the bag of tricks paradox.
Yeah.
What is that all about?
So think about it this way. Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to know what to say in any situation?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they've memorized a script,
Yeah.
but they've internalized the principles of effective communication
Mm-hmm.
so deeply that they can respond authentically in the moment.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So it's
Yeah.
about like operating from a place of understanding,
Yes.
not just canned responses.
Exactly. Instead of trying to remember like the right thing to say,
Right.
you're so tuned in to the other person.
Mm.
You're so present in the interaction
Yeah.
that the right words just kind of flow.
Yeah.
The notes compare it to the difference between reading a speech
Okay.
and telling a story from the heart. When
Mhm.
you're genuinely connected to the message,
Yeah.
it just lands differently.
That makes a lot of sense. Right. So how do we get there?
Yeah.
Like, how do we cultivate that kind of effortless flow?
The notes talk about shifting from an internal to an external focus.
Okay.
So often we get trapped in our own heads.
Yes.
Right? We're worried about what to say next,
Mhm.
how we're being perceived,
Yeah.
instead of truly observing and responding to the person in front of us.
Right.
Like there's that saying, the map is not the territory.
Yeah.
Right? So your internal map, your assumptions, your preconceived notions,
Right.
they might not reflect the reality of what the other person
Of their experience.
is saying or feeling.
Totally.
Right.
Oh my gosh. I can think of so many times when I've totally missed the mark
Yes.
because I was so caught up in my own head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It happens to all of us.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
So the notes talk about balancing that immediate interaction, that dance that we were talking about,
Right.
with a broader understanding of the client's long-term journey.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so imagine this.
Okay.
You're not just trying to close a deal,
Right.
but you're subtly guiding them toward a vision of their future.
Okay.
A future where your product or service plays a key role.
I see what you're saying.
Right.
So you're thinking like 3 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Almost like you're playing chess,
Exactly.
but in a way that's not manipulative.
Right. It's not about that.
It's more about being like a trusted advisor
Yes.
who genuinely understands
Yeah.
their needs and aspirations.
Exactly. It's about helping them connect the dots
Yeah.
between where they are now and where they want to be.
Okay, I'm hooked.
Okay.
Give me an example.
Okay.
What does this look like in action?
Okay. Let's say you're selling software.
Mm-hmm.
That streamlines workflow.
Oh.
Instead of just listing features and benefits.
Okay.
You could say something like,
Yeah.
imagine this.
Okay.
It's Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
You open your laptop.
Yeah.
And everything you need to tackle your to-do list is right at your fingertips.
Right.
No more wasted time searching for files or switching between applications.
Right.
Just pure focused productivity.
I like it.
Can you hear that?
Okay.
That's the sound of things getting done.
Whoa. Okay, so you're not just selling software.
Right.
You're selling a vision of like
Yes.
a better, less stressful workday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're using sensory language, visual and auditory cues,
Right.
to make that vision feel more real, more tangible.
Right.
And this is another key takeaway from the notes.
Okay.
This idea of leveraging how our brains are wired
Interesting.
for impact.
Okay.
We're going to unpack that a little bit more later.
Okay.
First,
So first we needed to take a quick break.
oh, are we doing a break?
Just kidding.
Oh,
I couldn't resist.
okay.
I do a little playful pattern interrupt there.
Oh, you got me.
You're about to say something about how our brains are wired.
Right. So the notes delve into this idea
Okay.
of how using both visual and auditory descriptions can significantly impact understanding.
Okay.
And they even go as far as to say it could lead to, get this,
What's that?
changes in income.
All right, now you've got my attention.
Yeah.
Tell me more about this visual and auditory processing.
So it's all about how our brains are wired, right?
Yeah.
We are visual creatures by nature.
Voila.
When you paint a picture with your words,
Yeah.
you're tapping into that innate processing power, right?
Yeah.
And then by layering on those auditory details,
Uh-huh.
the sounds, the tones,
Yeah.
you create this immersive experience that really sticks with people.
So it's like you're creating a mini movie in their minds.
Exactly.
Wow.
And the notes suggest that this can be especially powerful
Okay.
when you're trying to communicate abstract concepts.
Like that workflow software example.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, our software will make you more efficient,
Right?
you paint this picture
Yes.
of stress-free Monday morning with a clear to-do list.
You got it.
Brilliant.
It's about making the intangible tangible.
Right.
Now, what's particularly interesting
Okay.
is that the notes really emphasize that it's important to tailor this approach
Okay.
based on the person that you're interacting with.
Because a one-size-fits-all approach rarely works
Rarely works.
when it comes to communication.
Right. People are different.
People are
They
different.
have different communication styles,
Absolutely.
different needs,
Right.
different ways of processing information.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the notes really get into this idea of like recognizing these nuances to build rapport.
Right.
For instance,
Yep.
some people crave security
Uh-huh.
while others thrive on freedom.
Okay.
So for someone who needs reassurance.
You might emphasize stability and reliability.
Right.
But for someone who's motivated by possibility,
Yeah.
you'd highlight growth expansion.
Right.
You'd be painting a picture of what they could achieve.
It's about speaking their language,
Yes.
meeting them where they are.
Exactly.
This is all starting to make so much sense.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Now get ready for this next part
Yeah.
because it gets a little counterintuitive.
Okay.
We're going to talk about objections.
Objections, those are never fun.
Right.
I usually try to like avoid those at all costs.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
But the notes present a really fascinating perspective.
Okay.
They argue that objection handling is actually about finding agreement.
Hold on, agreement.
Yeah.
How do you agree with an objection?
Okay.
That
Yeah.
doesn't sound right.
So it's not about agreeing with the objection itself,
Okay.
but rather acknowledging the person's right to have that concern.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that internal map versus the territory we were talking about?
Right.
Their objection is part of their map.
Okay.
You're validating their feelings,
Right.
which can often like disarm the resistance.
Yeah.
Then, and this is key,
Okay.
you use that opportunity to highlight your unique value.
Okay. I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
So if someone's like, your service is more expensive than your competitors,
Right.
you wouldn't just jump in
Right.
with a list of features, be like,
and benefits.
and try to like justify the price.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might say something like,
Okay.
I understand cost is a significant factor.
Right.
And it's smart to compare options. Here's why our clients are willing to invest a little more.
Okay.
And then you share a specific example
Gotcha.
of how your service helped a client achieve a tangible result.
It's like you're turning the objection
Yes.
into an opportunity,
Sorry.
a chance to really showcase the value
Right.
you bring
Yeah.
in a way that resonates
Yes.
with their needs.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Now get ready for this next concept
Yeah.
because it's a little bit of a head scratcher.
Okay.
It's called the no agenda agenda.
It sounds paradoxical.
I know, right?
How can you have an agenda that's not an agenda?
It's very zen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But the idea is actually quite powerful.
Okay.
It's about approaching the interaction
Mm-hmm.
with the sole intention of serving the client's needs. So your only goal
Mhm.
is to help them
Yeah.
achieve their desired outcome.
So it's like that saying,
Yeah.
people don't care how much you know
Right.
until they know how much you care.
Exactly.
Right.
It's about shifting the focus from selling to serving. And when you genuinely embody that mindset,
Yeah.
it changes everything.
Okay.
It eliminates that sense of pushiness or pressure that can
Mhm.
sometimes creep into these conversations.
Yeah. It makes the whole interaction
Yes.
feel more collaborative,
Yes.
like a partnership.
More like a partner.
We're in this together.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the notes offer some tangible techniques
Okay.
to help cultivate this no agenda.
Right.
One that really stood out to me
Okay.
is this idea of pattern interrupts.
Pattern interrupts.
Yes.
Tell me more.
Okay, so have you ever been in a conversation
Mm-hmm.
where you felt like the other person wasn't really listening? They were just
Wasn't.
going through the motions, stuck
Okay.
in their own head?
Yeah.
Okay. A pattern interrupt is a way to snap them out of that autopilot mode.
Okay.
and bring them fully present in the conversation.
How do you do that?
So it could be a well-placed pause,
Okay.
a shift in your tone,
Mm-hmm.
or even a thought-provoking question
Okay.
that disrupts their expectations.
So it's about shaking things up a bit,
Yes.
keeping them on their toes,
Exactly.
but in a way that's engaging,
Right.
not jarring.
It's like a little mental refresh button.
I like it.
And the notes suggest
Yeah.
that one of the best times to use a pattern interrupt is right before you deliver a key point.
Oh.
It's like you're clearing the mental clutter
Okay.
so they can truly absorb what you're about to say.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to experiment with this.
I should try it.
It reminds me of that old adage in public speaking.
Uh-huh.
Start with something unexpected
Yes.
to really grab the audience's attention.
Exactly.
Right.
And it's not just about capturing their attention. It's
Yeah.
about fostering a deeper level of engagement.
This is gold.
Right.
I love how these notes combine these like high-level concepts
Yeah.
with these practical,
Yeah.
actionable techniques.
It's a really good blend of like the why and the how.
Yeah.
And the beauty is none of this is about being manipulative
Right.
or inauthentic.
It's not about tricks.
No, it's
Yeah.
about approaching interactions with a spirit of empathy
Right.
and understanding.
It's about like really seeing the person,
Yes.
understanding their needs,
Yes.
and guiding them towards a solution
Yes.
that serves everyone.
You got it.
Right.
And the notes actually provide a script
Okay.
for handling objections with empathy.
Give it to me.
If I were in your position and had the pressures that you have on you,
Okay.
I'd be afraid that this wasn't going to pay off too.
Mm-hmm.
I really understand where you're at.
That's powerful
It is, right?
because it acknowledges their fear.
It does.
It validates their concern.
Yeah.
And it builds trust.
It shows that you're not just trying to close a deal.
Right.
You're genuinely invested in their success.
Okay, before we get too far off track,
Yep.
I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier. This idea of using visual and auditory descriptions
Yes.
to make your message stick.
Okay.
Can you elaborate on that a bit more?
Of course.
Yeah.
It's all about understanding how our brains are wired.
Okay.
We are visual creatures by nature.
Right.
Our brains process visual information
Mhm.
much faster than text or audio alone.
So you're saying that using visual language is kind of like creating a shortcut
Yes.
in the brain.
Exactly.
Mm.
When you paint a picture with your words,
Yeah.
you're essentially bypassing the need
Mm.
for the listener to like translate those abstract concepts
Right.
into concrete images.
Gotcha.
And then when you add in those auditory details,
Yeah.
the sounds, the tones,
Right.
you're tapping into the emotional centers of the brain, making the experience even more memorable.
This makes me think about those radio ads that are just so evocative.
Yes.
Like all of a sudden, I'm not just listening to an ad for a travel agency,
Right.
but I can practically feel the warm sand between my toes
Yeah.
and hear the waves crashing on the shore.
That's a perfect example.
Right.
They're not just selling you a vacation.
Right.
They're selling you a feeling and experience.
Yeah.
And they're using that sensory language
Yeah.
to make that experience feel real.
Okay, this is all starting to click for me now.
Good.
But like, how do we actually start incorporating
Right.
these visual and auditory cues into our own conversations?
Yeah, it's a great question.
It feels like a skill.
It is.
It takes practice.
It does. But the good news is
It's
it's something you can practice in any interaction.
Yeah.
Okay?
So like the next time you're explaining something,
Yeah.
try starting with a visual.
Okay.
Like imagine this
Mm-hmm.
or picture this
Okay.
and then build on that
Mm-hmm.
with some auditory details.
Gotcha.
You'd be surprised
Yeah.
how much more engaging your conversations become.
And the beauty is it's not just limited to
Exactly.
client interactions or sales pitches.
No,
Right. You can use this when you're talking to a colleague,
absolutely.
telling a story to a friend,
For sure.
even just in a meeting, trying to get your point across.
It applies everywhere.
This has been so eye-opening.
Okay,
I feel like I've got all these like new tools and perspectives
I love that.
to work with.
And remember, the most important takeaway here
Yeah.
isn't about memorizing scripts or like mastering techniques.
Right. It's about cultivating a sense of presence
Mm-hmm.
and awareness in your interactions.
Yeah, it's about like really seeing the person,
Yes.
listening with intention,
Listening.
and responding authentically.
But so well said.
Right.
Yeah.
It's about approaching every interaction as an opportunity
Yes.
for connection and understanding.
Exactly. And when you do that,
Yeah,
the results can be truly transformative.
I love that so much. for anyone listening.
Yes.
I would love for you to just take a moment and reflect on like a recent interaction you had.
Yeah.
Maybe it was with a client,
A client.
a colleague, even a loved one.
Yeah.
How might you have approached that conversation differently?
That's such a good question.
Right.
Yeah.
How could you have maybe incorporated some of these principles
Right.
to create a more meaningful
Yes.
and impactful experience?
I love that because mastering interactions, it's a journey, not a destination.
Yes.
Right. And with a little bit of awareness and effort,
Yeah.
we can all learn to connect on a deeper level.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Right.
Thank you so much for taking this deep dive with me.
It was my pleasure.
I am so looking forward to our next one.
Likewise, until then, happy connecting, everyone.